guys, this is Christy Fulk with Create with Christy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in the US. Well, today I'm going to show you a card layout that uses up paper scraps. And I decided I wanted to make a card with my Flower Field Designer Series paper, short DSP. This paper is only available through Sale-A-Bration, and Sale-A-Bration ends February 28th, 2021, and that's this Sunday. So you'll need to hurry. You can get this paper free with a $50 order here in the US. And you can click on my online store link below to place your order right away. But I want to show you these. It's a 12 by 12 pack, so I've cut them down just to make it easier to show you here in the video. But you would get 2 of each design, 12 by 12. So here's one design and the opposite side. I love the colors in this, and I really like the ones that have the black background. I think it really makes the colors pop with that black background. And we've got this one here. This one has a just jade background with black leaves. I like how they switch that around. Normally you think of green leaves. And then these two are my favorite 2 designs. Actually, let's turn this around, like this one. And the last one. And like I said, if you like this designer series paper, you're going to have to hurry. Make sure you place a $50 order by February 28th, 2021. And click on my online store link below, and you can pick this out as your free item, and it's called Flower Field DSP. Okay, I'm also going to use another item that's a Sale-A-Bration item. It's called Approaching Perfection. And I hadn't had a chance to use this yet, and I'm like, oh, I got to use this on the card. And I thought that this little thing saying here, so what if you're a year older, you're fabulous, would go perfect with this Hey Girlfriend stamp set. This is one that's in the January to June mini catalog. I think those girls are so cute, and this is the first card I've been able to make with it too. So I thought these two went together really well. You've got a little party balloon here. There is one here, but this one's a little bigger. So these are the 2 sets I'm using. So if you want this one, like I said, this is a Sale-A-Bration one, and you need to place your $50 order by February 28th once again, and you can pick this out as your free item. So if you want both the designer series paper and the stamp set, you'll have to place a $100 order, and then you can pick both of these as your 2 Sale-A-Bration stamp sets, because you earn a level 1 with every $50 that you spend. And if you want one of the level 2s, you get those free for $100. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. If you'd like to stamp with me, you can pause the video, click on that blog post link below in the video description, and you'll find the dimensions you need for the cardstock, the supply list, and you can get all your stuff together and then come back and make the card with me. Okay, first off, we need our card base. This is a So Saffron piece. This color I tend to forget a lot, and I don't want to do that. It's a really pretty color. It's 5.5 by 8.5. Go ahead and fold this, make sure those corners meet. Grab my bone folder. Okay, so the card base is ready to go. And let's go ahead, there's only one thing I'm going to use my die cutting machine with, and it's to emboss something. So I'll get that my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine out, and we'll get that embossed. Okay, the embossing folder I'm going to use is called Dandelions, and you can find this in the annual catalog. Usually you make this as your focal point for a card, but I'm going to show you how this looks good as a background too. So we'll go ahead and grab the platform number 1. That's the base plate. And I'm going to grab a piece of Flirty Flamingo cardstock. This is 4 by 5.25. And we're going to put this inside. Now normally I would probably center the leaves down here in the middle, but this time I want these flowers to be over as far to the right as I can. So it's okay if I chop off a little bit of that leaf. It's still going to look good. And I'm going to move it over about right there. I want the whole flower to show. So that looks pretty good. I want to make sure it looks straight here. You can see where the leaves kind of end, so you want to make sure your cardstock is up a little bit so you don't have a bare spot at the bottom that's not embossed. But I've got this one over pretty close to the left, so that looks good. You always want to put these in, fold first. And then you need your specialty plate, which has a number 4 on it. And run that through, and we will be done embossing it. It's that quick and easy. Now the reason we have to use the specialty plate is that this is a 3D folder. I want to make sure I told you that. It's a little thicker than our regular folders. Isn't that gorgeous? I love that. I think it's so cool. Okay, now we'll get going with the rest of the card. Okay, let's go ahead and I'll show you what to do with your paper scraps. So I have got 3, let me get a hold of these, paper scraps from that Flower Field DSP. They're all 4" by 3/4. These were actually already in my pack. I didn't have to cut them down at all. They were scraps from leftover from cards I made from my Technique Club last month. So like, once again, they're all 4 by 3/4 inches. So kind of put these over to the side just a little bit. I'm going to grab that Flirty Flamingo piece that we just embossed. And I played around with it. You can put them any which way you want. I liked it like this, with the blue one on the bottom. So I'm going to grab my Stampin' Seal. Oops, turn that around. And get some adhesive on both ends, and then I just put one right across the middle. And I'm going to make sure, I'm looking at this, most of the images will show here on the left, because I'm going to put my girl right over here. So I'm going to leave a little bit of the Flirty Flamingo showing at the bottom. There we go, so put that on there. Then I'm going to grab this one, do the same thing here. Now normally when I use a layout similar to this, I just use one piece of designer series paper. I thought, oh, you know what, this is going to look neat having these scraps. It's going to give some more design to it, just going to look really cool. And here's the last strip. So you can play around. You don't have to just always have one big piece of designer series paper. You can make it into strips. And this one I want some of the pink showing, so I'll put that over here on the left. Okay, and that looks good. I'm not using any ribbon, so I'll go ahead and put this on the card base. Whenever I do a big piece, I always make sure I've got some in the corners, and then I do longer ones here, and then you can put one here in the middle too if you are nervous about it coming off. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And then you can put this right in the center of your card base. Okay, now we're going to do some stamping. So first off, we will grab, well, let's get the inside done because that's the quickest. Here's the inside. This is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic white. Once again, I'm going to grab my Stampin' Pierce mat. I use this definitely on my photopolymer, but I use it on my cling stamps too, the rubber ones. And these are, the ones I'm using today are all cling with the rubber stamp. Using my Tuxedo Black Memento, I'm going to stamp my balloon right down there. And I decided to use some color for my words. So I'm actually using 3 stamps from that Approaching Perfection stamp set. And this says, if things really do get better with age, then you're approaching perfection. So I'm going to stamp that with my Poppy Parade ink pad. Put that here near the top in the center. Okay. And then I wanted to do my Happy Birthday in another color. So I'm using Misty Moonlight. I'm going to stamp the Happy Birthday that also comes from that Approaching Perfection. Stamp my Happy Birthday here. Okay. And now that's all the color ink pads I'm going to use. We're going to be using Stampin' Blends to put color on everything else. So I'm going to grab my Flirty Flamingo Stampin' Blends, taking my dark Flirty Flamingo and just put in where those little lines are, because I feel like that's probably where they need to be a little bit darker. And then take my light Flirty Flamingo and color in the rest of the balloon, going over the parts that are dark, because that helps blend those shades together so it's not such a stark contrast. And then if I'm done, sometimes you need to let it dry just for a few seconds, because it looks like, oh, I blended it too much. Then when the light starts to dry, you can see the dark again, but it does look like I need a little bit right there. That's the neat thing I like about our blends. You can just keep playing around till it looks good to you. So we've got the inside all done. So we'll go ahead and put that in the inside of the card, because we don't want to put that to the side and lose it. We're less apt to lose it if it's inside the card. So go ahead and just put that right there on the inside, right there in the center. Okay, so we've got that ready to go. Now you need a piece of basic white. This is 1 3/4 by 3 1/2. And I'm going to stamp this girl here These are, I just really like the images in this Hey Girlfriend stamp set. It is so cute. And this one is available at least until the end of May. I think it's, or maybe the first couple days of June. I can't remember the exact day. That the January to June. Actually, no, it's the end of June. I'm sorry. All the catalogs have changed dates on us this year, and sometimes I have trouble remembering. So you've got till the end of June to get this stamp set, unless they don't retire it. Okay, so isn't she cute? I really like her. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do some coloring. Actually, let's get the stamping done. That way I can put the Stampin' Pierce mat away. We need a piece of So Saffron. It is a, let's see here, 2 3/4 by 3/4. I'm going to use my Banners Pick-a-Punch. And I'm going to put it in here. It goes right in the middle guide. This makes it so you can do a 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch wide banners, and you can make them as long as you want. I'm going to stick that in as far as it can go. I'm using the one that does a notch, not a little mountain. So that way I've got my little banner. I'm doing that first because I didn't want to stamp my words on here, then put it in the punch and end up punching off my letters. So that's why I do it in that order. I'm going to grab the So What If You're a Year Older, You're Fabulous from the Approaching Perfection stamp set. And then I'm going to stamp that right in the middle of my banner. Hold it down for a few seconds, and there we go. So I'm going to kind of put this over to the side because I'm not ready to put that on yet, but now I can put my Stampin' Pierce mat away. Okay, now we're ready to color this little girl in. I'm going to grab my Flirty Flamingo again, like I did with the balloon, and I'm going to have her dress be the Flirty Flamingo. The places where there are lines, those are kind of like folds in her dress. I love how Stampin' Up helps us know where we want to put the dark. So put a little bit there. I'm going to put a little bit here underneath her arm because with the way her arm's over there, I'm sure there would be a shadow underneath where her fingers and arm are. I figured that was probably good on that. And then take the light and color in her whole dress, going over the dark areas again so they blend. Okay, I don't know if you noticed, I went and pulled some of the dark down a little bit just so it wasn't too dark. And that gives some nice little shading. And since her shoes are so small, I'm just going to use, oops, I shouldn't have closed that. I'm just going to use my light Flirty Flamingo on her shoes. Now, if you want to, this little back one right here, you could use darker because there might be a little bit of a shadow there too. Okay, and then we want to do her, I almost forgot, I did her bow with the Flirty Flamingo too. So we'll use that dark. And I just colored in that whole center section and then these lines in the bow with the dark. Okay, you want to put a couple little layers, kind of go over it a couple times because you want to saturate the cardstock. That helps with the blending. And then I'm going to go over the rest of the bow with the light Flirty Flamingo. There we go. So now our bow's done, so we're all done with the Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to bring in the Poppy Parade next. I did her flower, and I decided to use the light. Oh, actually I didn't. I used the dark. So I can go over that, and you're not even going to be able to tell the difference. That's a neat thing about blends. One of the neat things. There's so many neat things about the blends. I love that you can't see the lines. When you use regular markers, you can see the strokes that you made. With the alcohol markers, the Stampin' Blends, you don't see that. And then I'm going to have her purse be Poppy Parade too. So I'm going to just put a little bit of shading here around her skirt. Because I'm thinking there'd probably be a little shadow there. And I decided I'm going to do her lips. I think I'm going to take the blunt one for the lips and give her some lipstick here. There we go. Then I'm going to take the light Poppy Parade and color in the rest of her purse, blending in that dark area again, so just a nice subtle shading. And then when I do her purse, I could go really light with this brush tip because it is super, super sharp, but it's so easy to go too hard. So I'm going to take the blunt tip. I love having two tips. I'm still going to lightly go over that. Actually, I think I would have done better with using the brush tip, but that's okay. I went out of the lines just a little bit. When I did my original, I thought, I'm just going to do the blunt tip in the video, and I actually do better with the brush tip. It's just nice and sharp, just use a really light touch, and you won't, actually does a little sharper image sometimes than the blunt tip. Okay, so now I'm going to do her hair. We'll bring in the So Saffron, and all these colors that I'm using are in that Flower Field DSP. So I'm going to take my dark So Saffron and oops, I don't want that blunt one. I like using, you can use the blunt one. My preference is I just like using the brush tip. And everywhere these lines are, or little narrow areas, I'm using my dark. Because I figured those are little folds in her hair, so they need to be a little darker. And this one over here, I'll just do right that little center section there. Maybe go over again just to make them a little darker. Oh, and this little area here, since it's right up against her face, I think that should be like a shadow. Take the light So Saffron and color the rest of it in, going over those dark areas again to blend them. Okay, now that I'm done, sometimes with the lighter colors, you do want to go back and add a little more dark. Sometimes they blend too much, and that's what happened to me. So I'm going to bring in a little more dark. And that should do good. That'll just make little highlights for her hair. Okay, so let's see, what else do we need here? We need to do her eyes. So I'm going to take the dark Pool Party and color her eyes in. I'm not going to bother doing shading because that's just too small of an area. You won't be able to tell the difference. So now she's got pretty blue eyes. I decided to have her be more casual, so I'm going to use Misty Moonlight that's also in the paper and do a little shading. It looks like she's wearing capris or leggings that are short. That's the shading for her skirt. And then I will color in the rest of it with the light Misty Moonlight. Now there is not a big difference in these shades, so you really don't have to do a lot of blending. That's why you just play around with your blends. Some of them you have to do more blending than others. Okay, now that I'm done, it looks like the dark is still too dark, so I'm gonna go where the two shades meet and get it to blend a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Hopefully my head just didn't get in the way. I started realizing I was getting over it a little too much. Okay, now we just need to do her skin. So I'm gonna grab the ivory and we'll color in her ankles, everywhere her skin is showing. Okay, now we only have one ivory. There's no light or dark, but if you want to get a little shading, you can go back over little sections again, and that will darken it up just a little bit. It'll give another little layer of the color. So I'm just going to do it where her sleeves are, where her pants meet her legs, and a little bit under her chin because her neck could have a shadow. Now it'll dry and not show up quite as much, but it does give you that little subtle shading. Okay, so she is all done being colored. Now grab a piece of Misty Moonlight. This is 2 by 2 3/4. We're going to attach her to the center. Isn't she adorable? She looks even better all colored in. Okay, now we're going to bring the card in. This is going to finish it up. We're going to attach her with our seal. And we'll put her here on the right side of the card, like so. And then see how those flowers show up? I just think that looks neat. It's a nice little subtle effect having those flowers back there, the dandelions. Okay, and then I'm going to put this on, but I wanted to do it with dimensionals. So I will put one here and one here. Grab my Take Your Pick tool and get those little paper backings off. And I want to make sure that I'm seeing all 3 of these designer series papers. So I'm kind of put them in between, maybe up a little bit more. So I'm covering a little more of that middle one, but that's okay. So I would put your least favorite design in the middle one, but you still have enough that it has that neat effect. So that's it. Not hard to make at all, and you get to use some of those paper scraps. And say you've got ones that are even thinner, you can make smaller strips and use more strips to go across and just get a really neat effect. So make sure you don't throw away those paper scraps because they can definitely be used. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Now, if you live in the United States and do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator of your own, I would love to be yours. Here are the two current catalogs that are available right now, the January to June mini catalog and the annual catalog, and I'd be happy to mail these out to you if you don't have them already. Just click that contact me link below in my video description, and I will get back with you right away. Okay, I'll show you the card one more time. And if you would like to support my channel, there are a few ways. You could subscribe, and that way you don't miss any of my videos. You can stay up with me again. Just click on that subscribe button below, and then when you see the little bell icon, click on that and select all. That way YouTube will notify you every time I do a video and you won't miss any. Another way is to comment or to like my videos. That helps with YouTube and helps support my channel. I really, really do appreciate it. Well, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.